Ever wonder how some financial services and fintech leaders learned about money when they were kids? Well, we've asked them 4 important questions to get their answers, and you definitely will want to hear from them. Join me today as we hear from Anna Njai Konte, CEO and founder of Poder Wealth Advisors. Hey everyone, Mac Gardner here, author of Motivate Your Money and the global best-selling children's book, The 4 Money Bears. I am joined today by the one, the only, Anna Njai Konte. Anna, how are you, ma'am?
I'm great, Mac. I'm super excited to be here with you.
So, for those of you who do not know who Anna is, she is the CEO and founder of Poder Wealth Advisors, and she's also just, you see her everywhere. She's always sharing financial wellness, financial education, and she's done amazing things in our industry and continues to do more. But that's just me sharing my perspective. And if you could take a few seconds, minutes, however long you'd like, to let folks know a little bit about you and your path.
Yeah, of course. Super excited to be here, Mac. Thanks for having me. So I have been in the wealth management industry for about 15 years now, the last 5 which running, independent wealth management firms. But I started out without a lot of money, right? Like my parents are immigrants. They had a lot of education to offer me, but financial education was not one of those. And so I had to figure out a lot of financial lessons the hard way. And I recognized that the financial education, the financial literacy, the financial fluency was actually the secret sauce, the thing that my parents were missing that I think would have really taken them from a solid place to an extra great like financial foundation. And my passion has been sharing that information because I feel really fortunate that I ended up working in this industry and that's how I got this information. And so I always want to pay it forward because I think so many of us have the work ethic, we have the perspective, we have the ability to stick it out, and we have a lot of grit, but we might not necessarily know where to direct things or have the skills.
Amen. Amen. That's a great way to sort of lead off the conversation, lead off the interview, because what we're working on here at Finlet Tech is developing financial education tools, right? That brings that connection between financial literacy and financial technology, right? We know that there's tons of financial literacy out there, but literacy on its own isn't going to help. You need tools, you need resources to be able to actuate and get that stuff out there. And so for us, we're building the 4 Money Bears Berryville, which is going to be a game, first of its kind game, that's going to really allow users to learn not just the managing money side, but the entrepreneurship side. How is money made, which is super, super important. So today, Anna, what we're going to have is we're going to have 4 questions we're asking all of our guests, and they tie into your early education and earlier, connections with money. So ready for question 1?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right, here we go. What is your earliest memory, Anna, of financial education or money education?
Well, I wouldn't say I had much formal money education, but I will say that I remember my parents feeling really stressed around money. Like I remember there was a real tangible issue around money. And one of the things that I noticed was, my parents would be struggling financially for a while, and then they would get tired. And my mom would say things like, you know what, money was made to be spent. And then we would have some sort of experience or indulgence that was enjoyable, right? Like I remember my mom taking me to a theme park, the Sesame Place. For those of you on the East Coast, it's in Pennsylvania, a long-standing place, a little water park, right? You've been there, right? I remember her taking me there because she was like, I work so much and we sacrifice so much and everything feels so hard, and I want to have a little bit of joy and good memories for us, right? So that was one of the things where I recognized that money had the opportunity to buy you pleasurable experiences, and it gave you a chance to create memories with those you love. The flip side of that, though, was that money had a negative kind of restricted connotation to me as well.
It's interesting because in these interviews, when we talk to people about, different mindsets, like growth mindset versus, not growth, I should say, when you have an abundance mindset versus, maybe not having as much. And interestingly, how those mindsets stick with you.
Oh, for sure.
scarcity mindset. That's the word I was looking for. And it's interesting how, as we get older, those types of connections with money, those types of mindsets with how should it work, how should it operate, really stay with us, and
100%.
and really can pass on to the next generation too. But before we get to that question, let's get to the question number 2. You ready?
Yeah.
What did money represent in your home as a child? And can you put some time on that one for us?
Yeah, I think that money was something that, in my mind, it was something that was tied to identity. And so, I received a lot of messaging from my parents because let me just take a step back. I grew up kind of lower middle class. And but my parents, especially my mom's side of the family, like really grew up in poverty, like extreme poverty. And I received a lot of that messaging from them, right? And talking about that kind of generational messaging around money, there was a lot that they told me was like, we are poor people, right? And like, we are not the type of people that do those kinds of things. Like, we are people that struggle. And that created a cycle in my mind where I was tying myself, my identity, and who I was to my lack of economic resources. And so one of the things that I had to do was parse that
Break
out,
it. Yeah.
right? Break that to whereas I could still very much be very proud of who I am and where I come from, very much connected to my community and my identity, and have financial resources. That took a lot of effort and that took a lot of work and reflection. But I think that was one of the most pervasive messages that I received growing up.
Yeah. I always look at money for people. Money is just a tool, right? That's all it is. It's just a resource. It gives you options. But I'm always captivated by the cultural aspect that one lives in and how that imprints upon them, their affinity, their attraction, their detraction to finance, to wealth. And so that's a fascinating story, Anna, because it's not the first time I've heard it. And it's something that the sort of, we talk 100 level when it comes to money, and then you start talking 200-300 level type of psychology. But that's something that's very important. And I think all our listeners need to be aware of that the cultural aspect that you grew up with does have a bearing on how you view things and how you interact with it. But then we may have to evolve or develop from that to reach new levels and do things. So that ties into our third question. Anna, you ready?
Yep, ready.
I think a nice tie-in segue to what you just said. How do you think we should teach young people about money?
Well, I think you said it already, Mac. Like, money is a tool. And money should not control you. Money should not be, or like achieving more money should not be the be all end all, like the end goal. It really is about using money as a tool to facilitate like what we want in life. Because what I think a lot of people who may have grown up with lack, where they miss the mark is they just want to have a higher income, build a bigger business, accumulate more assets, build more wealth. And without a concrete target for like what is enough, what they actually need, what they want to experience, and like what kind of life they want to have, what kind of legacy they want to have.
What's their why?
What's their why? They end up being a slave to the money. And that's not what we want, right? Money is just to facilitate us having the family that we want, having the experiences that we want, having the lifestyle that we want, having the memories that we want. That's really what money is. And I think that, to me, I love money. I love making money. I love seeing my money grow, but it's not because I just want that number to keep going up. It's because I know that when I hit a certain number, that means that I get to do things for my family, things for my kids, things with my husband, with my sisters. And that is why I really care about it, not because of, these external other things.
So what I'm hearing you say, and I don't need to put words in your mouth because you just said it nicely, is young people need to understand not just the mechanisms behind money, not just to spend, save, invest, or give, but a deeper meaning as to why they have it, why they are working for it, why they're doing what they're doing with it. Yeah,
100%. It's the clarity of direction. So, I had a conversation with a new client of mine who's quite young, but earns an incredible income. She's 25. And she was saying to me how she just keeps accumulating money, but she has no direction for it. And she feels as though, she should be doing something for it, but she feels a lot of doubt when she goes to spend it or if she goes to invest it. And what that leaves her in is this paralyzed state where she can't actually take action one way or the other. And so she's just in this static kind of limbo.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I told her is all we need to do is give you that direction, because then you're going to be able to stick to the investment plan long term because you know what that's for, and you have a why, and you have a connection, an emotional connection to that.
Amen.
You have a motivator that's really powerful. You're going to be able to feel free spending because you're going to have direction and know, hey, I want to spend on these 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever number things. And that's what really matters to me. I think that's the piece that's so missing from so many people's financial lives, is to have that direction and that clarity so that, they're able to be really successful in terms of life and in terms of their financial well-being.
And I think the earlier we could impress or implement that into young people's minds, I think the better. I think a lot of times our society takes young people for granted. Oh no, they don't understand that. Oh, those are topics that they'll deal with when they get older. Say, well, why? They can understand it.
100%.
Creativity for money starts by age 7. They can understand these concepts. They can understand why giving is important, why altruism is important, why investing is important. So I think all those are very good points. All right, coming to question number 4. So I'll ask you a wrap-up question. Anna, what's the best advice you've ever been given when it comes to money?
I think it's trite. People say it all the time, but it's just pay yourself first, right? It's about making sure that you're prioritizing your financial well-being. The person who told me that said something that I'll never forget. She said that, this is a gift. The action you're taking now is a gift to your future self. So when I say I'm going to put aside this percentage of my money, or I'm going to save this amount of money, or invest this amount, I know that future me is going to thank me today for doing that, because what that does is it buys future me more options that I would have had otherwise. And as someone who, has seen how hard it can be for people when they don't have financial resources, that's something I never take for granted, something that I never sleep on, because I know what the absence of financial resources look like. And that means a lot less optionality. And so, for me, that's been the best advice that I've ever received, and I continue to do personally to this day.
I really appreciate that. I think about what we do as advisors in people's lives. You've been in it for a while. I've been in it I'm like, man, I've been pushing this broom for some time. Yeah, it's been a little bit. It's been a few decades. But one of the lines I've heard about financial planning is all financial planning is bringing the future into the present to do something about it today. And that's literally what we're doing as advisors every day, sitting down with people saying, hey, what does the future look like? What are you trying to accomplish? What are you trying to get to? Let's build a financial plan around that. And again, the earlier we can start talking to young people about that type of stuff, and just talking to people, period, about planning and the importance of it in your life, I think the better a lot of people's lives, our society's lives, will be. So, Anna, as we wrap up this lovely interview here, anything you'd like to share with our audience in closing?
Yeah, I would just say that, as much as you think about your mental health, your physical health and well-being, you should think about your financial wealth and health and well-being, because it really does, feed into all the other areas of your life. The last thing I would say is if you want to get more financially literate, if you want to get more perspective on how you can increase your financial fluency, I have a podcast. It's called the Financial Powerhouse Podcast, and I'd love to have you come check it out.
That sounds like an awesome idea. Anna, thank you so much for your time. And as I like to say, the journey continues. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you'll join us for our next engaging episode. Be sure to follow us on LinkedIn and visit www.the4moneybears.com.